Welcome one and all to today's live market update and charts of the day. I hope you're good, I hope you're well, and that your week has been a memorable one so far. Hope things are well for you all. Thank you for popping in today. And if you are watching this on repeat stroke after the live show, welcome to you as well. Let's obviously start by popping up this little important message that just reminds you that this is for educational purposes only. Please make sure you do your own due diligence on anything you see or hear. Make sure that you follow trading plans and manage risk on every trading action. That's on entry and exit. And of course, make sure that's consistent with your own personal trading objectives and financial situation. Right. Okay. Let's get into the headlines first of all, of which there have been many this week, of course. Um, if we just start by sort of looking at what's happening in the sort of eventful world of US-China relations. There we go. We should be kicking off now. It has continued. So we had that on Friday. We had the fairly major market belt on the back of a rare earths debate between China and the US. I'm going to do a little bit of a deeper dive on the inner circle session, which is tonight. If you want to pop along to that one, in terms of what that's all about, there is a meeting due. But both sides are playing hardball in terms of some of the narrative that's going on. On top of that, of course, we've got US earnings season starting this week with the big banks reporting. Uh, Early numbers have been okay. And of course, the shutdown continues in the US. So US futures are sort of flat so far today, pretty well neutral. Asian markets generally positive when I last had a look, but they're not all open, of course, at this stage. Let's just check where they are right now. Okay. Yeah, so the ASX is up over 1%, Nikkei is up 0.7%. Now uh, it's opened again, and we're seeing the Shanghai pretty well flat on the back of concerns over trade talks. European futures are pointing to a positive open. With the US last night, the Dow was the underperformer, slightly down, whereas the Nasdaq did okay. We'll have a look at charts in a moment, of course. The US dollar index has really been quite soft all week, and as a result of that, we're seeing gold continue to pile higher. It's breached 4,200, which is quite remarkable in terms of where we were and where we've come from over the last few weeks. Copper struggled really throughout the week to hold last week's highs or to get anywhere near them, and oils also looked weak. Iron 4-year lows after breaching support at the end of last week. Again, we'll look at charts in a moment. Bitcoin's looking soft, may test support level. And on top of the earnings and trade news, US data is still likely to be delayed. We still haven't got any jobs data. We did have some Aussie jobs data come out this morning, which was weaker than expected. Maybe in anticipation that the RBA may encourage them to cut rates when they next meet. Materials obviously doing well on the back of those gains in gold. We've got UK GDP due this afternoon, and we do have the Philly Fed manufacturing data due. I'm not sure because that doesn't come from the government per se. That may well be delayed. That'd be an interesting print, and may get some market response on top of anything else that's coming across the wires. Okay, so that's the headlines covered. Let's have a little bit of a dive into some charts. And you'll see there, I've put up to start with the oil chart, and you can see that threat to those lows. If we just put it on a weekly chart, just to show you the context of this. So this was the closing low. We are actually testing that. And if we go right back on a monthly chart, you can see how this is lows not seen since early 2021. So a real threat to that on the back of this drop over the course of the last quarter. And of course, that's been exaggerated. It really hasn't recovered from Friday's drop, as you can see there. There's Friday's candle. And since then, we've sort of bimbled around the bottom here. So oil's not looking great. That's probably one of the key stories of the day. The other one that I've already referenced is Bitcoin. You can see there Again, we had that dramatic Bitcoin action to the downside, a little bit of a bounce on Monday and Tuesday, and of course, we've not seen a very strong week for Bitcoin. You can see that key level around about 107. We've talked before. Oops, thank you. Um, just a little bit of there we go. You should see charts now. So here's Bitcoin. Thank you, Wayne. Um, so you can see that move to the upside, that sort of drift to the downside as well. We are still at higher lows, which is sort of interesting. So it's a very slow incline with those higher highs. But really, if we breach this level and start to test 107, we can sort of say with some certainty that the buyers are not there in great volume. Here's that oil chart. Apologies for you not seeing that earlier, but you can see there that we've got that move down to a 4-year low. Um, I mentioned gold already, and there's gold. It just continues to move higher. Currently trading through that 4,200 level at around about 4,228 at the moment. Just seems to pile up. I did say 4,000 was my target for the coming month stroke, but 5,000 is looking like it's well on the cards. People just keep on buying to go. Lots of central bank buying going on to support the price in light of a decrease in confidence in the US, perhaps. Again, I'll have a little bit of a deeper dive on this later. And that's why there's the US dollar this week. It's looked very shaky, moved back into this range. Still holding fairly well above those 3-year lows, which is this line here. And onto the indices, you can see there was that Friday drop. Really, since then, been in a little bit of a range. Um, with the let's just show you something if I can find it. What I might do is just put it onto this chart here. Just change the time frame first of all. You might like this. Let's show you it anyway because it's taken an incredible amount of hours to put this together, but I did want to show you. So there we go. So that's on that's on the obviously on 360 ASX, which is looking short today on the hourly chart. And so we've got this multi-time frame trend. We've got a swap calculator, which would work out. If we were to hold that for some time, you could calculate, work out your swap costs. Got a risk calculator. So if we wanted to risk 1% of this, then we might put in a stop loss, let's say 48. And we'll put a take profit in. Actually, let's make it 40, 49.50. And let's put a take profit of 55. And calculate what that means. Struggling a bit because of the lot size. Let's do 100. Not sure why that's not working. And then of course we can do the entry and execute a trade should we want to. If we do this on 100 lots, we can execute. Oh, stop loss isn't in there. Stop loss not showing. Anyway, that's the dashboard. I need to have a look at it for stocks. I think it's not doing very nice on stocks, but for FX it'll work really well. Anyway, just a little foray into that. Before we go and have a look at, of course, some FX. Let's use let's do this. Let's put the US yen on this chart here. So here's the US yen daily. As I said, we've got US dollar weakness this week. So just that pullback there, which has taken us on the daily chart, which I always like for context. Back through 151 and moving down to 150, really nice round number for the markets to have a look at. And one suspects that it may be moving down there. If you look at the hourly chart, you'll see there it's looking what you could describe as precarious. We've already breached yesterday's low, which was at 151. So we saw the move through that, and this looks like a really strong chart. Um, from a short point of view. So that US dollar weakness we'll see across many pairs. Um, here's the Euro USD again on the daily chart. You can see that support very much in place at around this 115.60 level. Move up to test 116 in today's trading. Currently at 116.68, so looking good for a potential move towards this potential pause point at around about 117.25. We'll put this on an hourly chart. You can see again the strength of that movement in today's price action. Looks like a long-term double bottom on the daily chart, which we've obviously surpassed. Sorry, on the hourly chart. So we've not only breached the high, we're at the high of the week essentially. Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday. So essentially we're back at over last week's levels at this time. Looks as though the buyers are most certainly in. There's a potential pause point just over where we are now at around about 116.75. I wouldn't be going crazy on this. It's still the sort of market that it may be worth. It could be headline driven. It may be worth looking at 117.10 as a profit target. If we look at the Aussie on the back of that weak jobs data, and perhaps the RBA more likely to cut rates than they were earlier in the week, you can see some weakness in the Aussie versus the USD. Now, of course, because we're seeing that against that, then the Aussie is really weak against other currencies. So if we look at the yen, we're actually testing Friday's low, which is really quite interesting, at 97.75. Potential move down to around about 97.40. So around about 35 pips there to the downside. And we're also seeing, if we just pop on the Euro Aussie, of course, the Euro is very strong this morning. And you can see there, if we just pop this on the daily chart for context, price target on this may be the highs that we hit sort of during mid-August time. Particularly as we created this double bottom on the daily chart. That's that breach today on the back of that jobs data, looking strong. If we pop it on the 4-hourly chart, then this price level here is interesting. You can see there, if we just bring it in a bit, that we've just got that pullback, but see that long wick on this current candle that has taken it back up to 179.75. So that suggests a little bit of profit taken and a bounce to the upside. So that 179.75 looks as though it's a key level. I'm not sure it'll get all the way up to 181, but certainly technically you might get a pause here around about 190.13. Sorry, 180.13. So you've got about a 40 pip range. So I like the Euro Aussie long and the Aussie yen short at this stage. Both of them are testing key levels, and so a double chart of the day for you to contemplate. Let's look at some ASX stocks. We'll start. Actually, we'll start in the US. So here's Tesla, really struggling to push forward, but looks as though it's well supported. After that test of 148 or 140, sorry, try again, Mike. 419, possible move back up to that 459. So that looks strong. If we just check out on Nvidia, I'm not going to spend too much time on the US, to be fair. Again, Nvidia's pulled back down into this range. So it's just a case of whether it holds that or whether it pushes back through 183 and retests 193. At this stage, Nvidia doesn't look very attractive, and some of this is possibly because going to be fueled by that China debate that's going on right now. Right, let's have a look at some ASX stocks, shall we? So I think Tesla's worth keeping an eye on. Um, so let's just do this. Just make life a bit easier. Jumbo Interactive going really well. Let's look at in the pharma space. Main's doing quite well. You would expect some of the gold stocks like GMD all going very, very well indeed. A couple that we've kept an eye on. LTG, one that we were keen to. Let's just do this. I can remember the stocks that we did. We don't want that really. Let's look at Linus first of all. You can see that's actually taken a little bit of a hammering today. Why is that? There we go. That's better. So we've just pulled back from these highs. So what we've got now is a pullback. Be interesting to see some buyers coming in with just rare earth. I mean, this has obviously been on a tear. 2160. If we bounce back up there, but obviously at this stage it looks as though we've got some profit taking going on. May see us retest $20. So worthwhile being patient on that. Liontown, another one we were watching closely. We were waiting for a breach when we talked on Monday, whenever it was. We're waiting for a breach of this sort of 103 level, and you can see that's done very well. It's trading towards the highs of the day, around about 116. Difficult to put a price target on this. We've got to go back quite a long way before we hit anything of note. But that 123 was the price target. It's nearly made that already, so that will be the next level of interest, perhaps. So let's just pop into PLS and also in the lithium space, of course. But we're not seeing the enthusiasm there. There's the weekly chart. You can just see it pull back, perhaps a double top forming. So the jury's out a little bit on whether there's any more to the upside. All of the gold miners are looking positive today. There's Evolution Mining, as I said. Actually, we should really check in on what the US banks are doing. So we shall do that in a moment. And then Zipco also pulling back a little bit today. So it's really the money's in the gold mining stocks. We're in a sort of range on Zipco with two clear price points to keep an eye on. If you're interested in a bounce, maybe 450 is the level. If you're interested in just being a little more patient and a breach to the upside for a continuation of this move that's been in play really since the beginning of June, then 480 is the level to keep an eye on. A couple of others we were tracking. Megaport does look as though it's found support here. You've got to be a bit brave to take that on, I would suggest. Stocks like Aluka have dropped off quite significantly, actually. Let's look at Macquarie, which responds to US banks, and Macquarie is looking really interesting. As you can see here, retesting a resistance level that's been in play since the back end of June, early July at 230. If we look at the context on this and move through this, could see us start to push higher towards around 237. Other banks, let's just quickly check in on CBA to see how fast and how far they're going. Macquarie is usually a good gauge because of its similarity to a lot of the functions of US banks, which are of course reporting now. So there's a bit of a response to that. You can see CBA is really trapped in this range. Wouldn't be interested in this unless it breaches 160, or sorry, 172 maybe. Net wealth, not a stock that I really track, to be honest, but you can see from a technical point of view, got this reverse head and shoulders type of pattern and possible move up towards 36. That's worth keeping an eye on if you want something that's a little bit outside the norm. Outside, it's all gold miners, Genesis Materials, Goodman Group, GNC are nice looking. Nice. Let's have a look at Grain Corp. They've found a support, it looks like. Up today, found a support potentially at around about 860. not filling me full of happy joy feelings, to be fair. And in the infrastructure price, IGL is possibly looking to move back up to around about 925. But again, in light of the risks that are there in the market, you've got to be pretty sure before you jump in. And the certainty seems to be around the gold stocks. AMP reporting with positivity. Seeing if there's anything else there that. And let's just have a look at Maya. Nah, too soon for Maya, but keep an eye on that. And TWE is another one that's really been under the cosh. Possible gap close here. Um, 435 that's breached this the top of that initial gap. That could be interesting. Possible close of gap up to around about up around about 6.8%, possibly to around about 673, if that's your thing. And coal stocks that were doing okay. I like this chart from Young Coal Australia. This will complete a sort of wibbly wobbly, being the technical term, double bottom formation, 566, big gap to fill here. I like this chart. This is going to be my ASX chart of the day. There's a couple of potential pause points, one about 3.7%. That will be a good cue to possibly, if we do get a breach, that'd be a good cue to lock some profit in. But there's a potential 8% move up in the medium term to around about 613 perhaps. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that's giving you some things to have a look at. If you can make tonight's Inner Circle, as I said, we're going to do a deeper dive on what's happening between the US and China, why rare earths are so important and part of that, what the outcome may be, what's happening with US shutdown, and some early scores on the doors in terms of earnings. So keep an eye out for that if you can make it along, either on YouTube or go to webinar. It'd be wonderful to see you there. But in the meantime, thank you so much for popping in today. It's always a pleasure and a privilege to serve those of you who can make it along live. Of course, take care of yourself. So hi to Rob says 5K, 5,000 for the end of the year for gold is your target. I think that's fair. Lita, thank you very much. Which is the best stock to buy now? I think I've given you a couple of things there to have a look at. Thanks, Roger. Satish, you take care. Great to see you here. Thank you very much. If you wouldn't mind smashing a little like if you can on the video on the way out, that's always really appreciated. If you feel as though you have liked it. Anyway, let's move and groove. Let's talk to you soon. Again, as I said, we'll see you tonight, and hopefully you have a great rest of your day. I shall love and leave you. Catch you later. Trade safe. Bye bye for now.